Welcome gentlemen and of course a few ladies around to the new video tutorial covering the usage of Slave Monkey's epic Forza Motorsport 4 tuning calculator. First of all, I'll explain a couple of things, like prerequisites, system requirements and basic best practice tips. For those of you who are already familiar with the past versions like 3.3 or the experimental FMTC4 versions, feel free to skip to the shown timestamp where I start on the usage itself. If you'd like to get a refresh on the best practice guide, head to the now shown timestamp for this, or just keep patient and stare at the ceiling daydreaming about the perfect run at Nordschleife until we get to the new stuff. Rule number 1. If you interrupt the lesson, I'll chain a 24-inch dub rim right to your earrings. The whole tutorial takes up to 30 minutes this time, since I go through quite a lot. But don't get scared by this, the tuning itself takes only about 10 minutes once you know what you have to do. And even takes less than 5 minutes if you did it a couple of times. Shiny, now let's get back to serious business. In the video description you will find the link to the official Forza Motorsport forums, where Slave Monkey posts links to new versions of the calculator. You will also find basic text-based instructions there. Also, you will see a please donate link. Let me first say, Slave Monkey's Forza Motorsport tuning calculator is a free download for all to use. That being said, Slave Monkey sacrifices an enormous amount of his free time putting together this awesome tool, so we can spend more time on enjoying the game. If this makes sense to you, then clicking the please donate link will take you to PayPal and you can show your appreciation there. Also, these links will be shown at the very end of this video. Okay, the system requirements. To use this tool you have to own a copy of Microsoft Excel 97 or newer that is properly installed on your computer. If you don't work with Microsoft Windows or Microsoft Excel for what reason ever, you might try using Libre or OpenOffice. It happened to show strange behavior and errors in the last version in a dedicated ODS file. But usually it was found to be working with the Microsoft Office files. To say it loud and clear, Open or LibreOffice are not officially supported. That's why there is no download link for an ODS file anymore. So please use it at your own risk. On the other side, just for your information, there is an Office Home and Student edition available which is quite affordable, at least when compared to the professional editions. It costs about $100 or 80 euros the last time I checked Amazon. Here is a quick link just in case you are interested. Within the Excel versions you will have to have the Analysis Toolpak enabled. You will find the link to the official Microsoft Office help in the official thread. But I will go through it with you based upon Microsoft's Excel 2010 in a few moments. If you ask for support and we spot that this is not enabled, please see rule number 1 from the intro. Also, there is no official support for mobile devices to this date and most likely will not be in the near future. If you try using the calculator with mobile office tools and it works, nice. If it doesn't, don't bother anyone of the calculator team or myself. Again, sorry, no mobile device support. Therefore, please stick to full Microsoft Excel on classic computing devices. Speaking about support. For support, please head to the forums of forzamotorsport.net that is linked in the video description. You will find a bunch of experienced people there that are willing to help. A very good idea there would be to scan the pages of the calculator thread for your issue to keep redundant questions as few as possible. Also, I would be very thankful if you keep support issues in the forums, as that is where everybody has to come through to get the calculator. So it would be a good idea to ask for help there instead of my YouTube channel or per private message. Thank you very much. Gosh, this will take hours to finish. Anybody mind to fetch me a drink? Okay, now that we got the very basics covered, it would be time to download the file, if this is not already done. Please download the appropriate calculator version for your Office product. There are two available. Microsoft Office 1997 and higher, which is an .xls file, and Microsoft Office 2007, which is an .xlsx file. Once you have downloaded the file and saved it to the location of your choice, you may want to create a copy and rename the file so it's unique to you. This will be the copy that you open and use for tuning here on out. This will ensure that you will always have a clean version in case the workbook becomes corrupted. Keep in mind that there are a ton of formulas and data tables which can be very easily corrupted, so keeping a backup copy may just save you hours of frustration. Also, the workbook is write protected, and I'd suggest, unless you are very comfortable with spreadsheets, you leave it write protected. Just my personal advice. Move this very new, untouched and fresh downloaded file to a safe place, to a subfolder, flash drive or whatever method you prefer. This way you have an unmodified version in the safe you can revert to. Now you have a master and a working copy of the calculator. If you mess up your working file, don't worry, just copy the master file another time to your working space and start right over. This spares you the time to go online, head to the forums, dig out the thread and re-download the file. Anyway, make sure to check the forums once in a while to see if newer versions are available. These might of course slightly differ from this tutorial, but if it's too much, I promise I'll leave an update here. Okay, so now we have a master file stored in the freezer. Just leave it be and we'll take a look at the new working file. There are different ways to work with this now. You might simply use this single file for all of your tuning and calculation. Re-enter everything for each car you work on. This is, by the way I use it too. You have no archive to look up, former setups, but it keeps the file handling at minimum. You might otherwise keep different copies of the file for specific tunes you will be most likely working on again. Like some weapons that are good in multiple classes. After you took the calculator for a spin, you select File, Save As, and store the sheet as copy named F200 Audi R15 TDI or whatever suits your memory. This way you can further advance setups you made a week ago by simply opening the according file without re-entering all the data. Or you even want to save each and every tune and sort them into subfolders, organized most likely by performance index or by make, or for the girls out there by the car's colors. For this there's also a class builder sheet to keep track of your used upgrades too. I'll have some words on that later. And yeah, I know, I will be punished with raging feminist flames in the comments now. No ladies, please. It's just been a stupid stereotype joke, I was just kidding. But another important thing. The calculator is meant to deliver a very stable basic setup. It will not automatically grant you phenomenal leaderboard times. It gives a stable and as controllable as possible setup. And sometimes even this needs a little bit of tweaking on its own. This being said, the calculator cannot compensate stupid or funny builds. So please don't expect your hand-built 2000 kilowatt Hummer H1 in class R1 with its 200mm tires to be even a little bit competitive just because it's tuned with a calculator. I've been told there is a common saying, garbage in, garbage out, which holds true for the calculator. Now that this is clear, one last general thing. The calculator spits out a load of numbers for suspension, transmission and brakes. To take full benefit of this, your car has of course to have installed as much adjustable parts as possible. Suspension and anti-roll bars should be considered close to mandatory. Transmission highly recommended. Brakes and differentials are also quite important. Aerodynamics depend on personal preference or the car, but are not that important in the first line. The more you have, the more advantage you can take out of the calculator's results. So, are we done here? No? Still stuff to talk about? Oh well, okay, then on to the next topic. Now I'll show you how to enable the Analysis Toolpak. This is based on Excel 2010, and as said, you can find text-based instructions for other versions of Excel on the thread on forzamotorsport.net. That is linked later or below. Also, my screens are made with my German Office version. but I added the English descriptions for you just in case. So start up your Excel or simply open the calculator now, please. Then you please select File, Options. Here you have to click on Add-ins and then Manage Excel Add-ins. Go. Enable the checkbox next to Analysis Toolpak and click OK. Now you are ready to go. Okay, that's it for the prerequisites and preparation stuff now. Everybody wake up please, now we are getting to the really interesting stuff. Let's open up the sheet and take a quick look around. The interface is quite clean, as most already know. Please note that these cells are empty and no results are shown after the download, and also in this tutorial. Once you tuned your first car and get to the next, you will of course have to overwrite the old data. There is an input area. Well, in fact it's logically seen 4 of them. The 2 red ones are mandatory. The dark red one is optional if you have adjustable aero parts installed, and the orange one is some kind of crucial while at the same time potentially dangerous. Remember that orange advanced one for later please, and leave it like it is for now. And then, not less important, there is an output area which I highlighted green. So now first of all, select your SE unit system you are using in Forza from the cell E5. I'll stick with English for this tutorial for you guys, otherwise some of the labels, fields and formulas in the background will change to fit metric measurements. Okay, now I'll show you where to collect all the car data and where to put them. First of all, take a seat in your car of choice in the game. As soon as you do this, please select the same car in the calculator in the drop-down cell H1 and add the engine position and driving type. On a side note, the name and class fields are not actually needed. When you save each tune like mentioned earlier, you can put a name and a class here for your memory. Enter the performance index number in cell F6. The class is calculated by that and changes automatically. It is not relevant for the tuning calculations though. Back to topic. With selecting the car, the calculator fetches some specs from the new integrated database which are needed for the upcoming calculation. This is by far one of the most frequent problems new calculators run into, so remember, select your car in the drop-down cell H1. The calculator fetches dimensions and brake data of your car for you. So if you start building a new class X999 Peugeot 908 and still have selected the Volkswagen Rabbit in H1, I can almost certainly guarantee you that your new tune will handle like a single-wheeled road tanker hull filled with jello. Keep the new cell H1 in mind, especially if you're a long-term user of former versions. Okay, now that this is clear, well it is, right? What shall thou never forget? Okay, excellent, keep moving. Now back to the game. Head to your garage again and get the first set of data by pressing Y on your currently selected car. You now can see power, torque, weight, weight bias and displacement. Please add these to your calculator sheet now to the appropriate cells. After this, please press X to see the car list. Press RB 21 times until you see power RPM. Another 2 times RB will show you torque RPM, and another single RB will show you redline RPM. Continue pressing RB 4 times to get front, and another time to get the rear tire width. Plug these data into the calculator now, or directly on each step, please. Okay, that's that. Only 2, possibly 3 things missing. Lateral Gs. Oh, and for the attendees of my last tutorial, no need to stuff your ears again on this part. Head back to the main menu by pressing B 3 times, one down to upgrades, one down to upgrade shop, and write into some upgrade option. In this example it is air filter. Select any option different to your currently used and press A one single time. On the left side of the pop-up you will see your current lateral Gs. Also add this to the calculator. Very important, abort the purchase or installation by pressing B now, or you might mess up your setup. Head back another 3 menus with B, get down to benchmark and enter the maximum speed of your stock tune. This will help the calculator to get the basic idea of the car's speed and adjust the transmission at least somewhere close to good on the very first run. Some cars might have different transmission setups. For those you can choose your gear setup in the cell E36, which is highlighted blue here. Back out once and get to the tuning setup menu itself. Get over to the right using RB to the aerodynamics tab please if you have installed adjustable aero parts. If you don't have, just ignore this step please. Slide everything to the left and input this into the appropriate minimum aero cells, then all the way to the right and put in these to the max aero cells. Depending on your liking and track to be run, alter the aero strength cell to your need. I usually start around somewhere in the 30% and add more if needed later. But as said, that is highly dependent on the track and car. Production car on Fujimi, better go for 70 or 100%. Bugatti Supersport in a 200 lap oval race on benchmark layout A, better drop it down to 0 to 10%. It's up to you to decide, or better find out, how much downforce you will need. Anyway, in the game head back to the left to the first tuning tab, which is tire pressure. You may now adjust all the fancy sliders of the game according to the results of the calculator. Once finished, back out in the game using B from the tuning setup menu and select save. Here is a tip I use. You might want to run another benchmark to further optimize the transmission. Usually the top speed changes after the first setup run, especially when using aerodynamics. Reapply the new top speed to the calculator and readjust the transmission if needed. Also, you may even want to enter a target top speed right away if you have an idea how fast the car is able to go, depending on power and aerodynamic parameters. The calculator will spread the gears accordingly. Otherwise, keep repeating this cycle of benchmarks and readjusting until the calculator levels the car by its power versus natural aerodynamic resistance. That is also the point why your target speed might not be actually possible to achieve. If the Rabbit has not enough power to launch to 500 miles per hour, you can tell the calculator to make it happen until forever. Remember, garbage in, garbage out. Anyway, I usually find the leveling by repetition to be quite spot on, leaving a little headroom for drafting situations. Okay, that's it for the tuning itself. You can now take your new setup for a spin. Have much fun with the new setup or stay tuned for some advanced techniques. So, as promised some hours ago, at least it seems like hours ago, I'll tell you some things about the class builder sheet, the advanced section, and a very neat new feature introduced with this version that is called Priority Upgrade Table. As we are next to the tuning setup, let's take a quick peek at the advanced section that was highlighted orange. First of all, be very careful with this powerful instrument. It has the potential to improve your setup a good step forward, but also completely mess up your car if handled in the wrong way. Remember the Jello delivery tanker example from the start of the input. At the end of this tutorial you will find a link to a video by Tainted Productions where he will take you very much deeper into this rabbit hole and explain to you which change causes which consequences for your rides, and how you should approach it to get rid of annoying over- or understeering, and much else you might encounter after the very basic setup. For now, let's say this much. You can override the default calculations with this, so if you think your car suspension is too soft with the default setup, you can raise the suspension stiffness, for example, or try to tune your car out of oversteering situations. For using this, you definitely have to have a good idea what anti-roll bars or dampers do in your car and what happens if you weaken or stiffen them up. Trial and error is one way of learning this, but I'd recommend to please head over to Tainted's channel for more details after this tutorial. Otherwise, I know from personal experience, you will end up in some frustrating messed up tunes that you have to start over. I'm quite sure Tainted Productions will teach you some things. Oh, and hi Tainted, thank you very much for this, by the way. Well, I will quote Slave Monkey here as an introduction. He says, "Every time I was building a car to make it go faster, I would save the engine upgrades for last because it seemed like a jigsaw puzzle. Adding upgrades, taking them off, comparing them one to another, and then forgetting what the last one said. No matter what I put into the car, I always felt insecure about the build and its performance, and I'm sure most of you did too. And oh boy, this is so true for me." That is where this new feature comes into play. Slave Monkey already worked out a default list containing most of the power upgrades that are available. So take a look at the list in the sheet. Take a look at the rim styles list and install the lightest ones to your car. Then you install all the adjustable tuning parts, decide on the tire widths, toy around with tire compound and weight reduction upgrades so you still have a good stack of PI points left for your target class. Now you take a look at the priority upgrade table. Then install the engine upgrades from top of the list down, looking at the highest overall rating, or power rating, or torque rating, depending if you want a general approach, or more top speed, or more acceleration based setup. You want to install parts until you reach the performance index of your class plus 1 point. So performance index S601 for this example. If an upgrade boosts you over this limit, leave it out and take the next one below. When you hit the class plus 1 PI, you go back to the rim styles and install the rims that are the next heavier in the list, so it drops you back to A600 in this case. This predefined list worked for me so far. If you tune a car for which not all upgrades are rated in the list, or you want to be sure for your individual car, you can also delete all the input cells, input your stock values in the upper right section, and then you have to go through all the power upgrades available to your car and add the after values to each appropriate row of the priority upgrade table. After this you can unprotect the sheet at your own risk and sort the list again by the rating columns in descending order. So you have the individual upgrade priority for your car. Based upon that, you set up your car upgrades like described just above. This is a lot of work, and please have a backup copy of the file at hand in case you delete something wrong. So please only toy around like this if you really need to. Also, there are a couple of other ways to use this, leaving out the weight reduction for example, or selecting a larger rim diameter instead of heavier rims, or taking out the lighter drivetrain upgrades to spare another couple of pounds and so on. You have to try and learn a little here. There is no master plan for upgrades, but this will surely get you more efficient upgrades once you learned to use it the right way for your driving style. This being said, there is a class builder sheet. First of all, this is not an active component, period. You can keep track of your used upgrades on your setup with this. If you store copies per tune or print out for the archive or want to post upgrades on a website or email a list to friends or whatever. Don't expect it to tell you anything to use. You tell it what you used and it stores it for you and enables you to further use it on the different ways like just told. Okay, only one final thing I got on my to-do list for today. The now used car database. It took about 15 guys about 2 weeks to fill a database in the sheet with heights, widths, axle tracks, wheelbases, brake diameters, tire widths, weights, colors of the mechanic's socks, the exact amount of atoms in the fuel tank cap and other stuff. Well, okay, not exactly that strange stuff, but the measurements, which are basically 10 sets of data for each of the 544 cars, including all VIP and DLC cars up to the November Speed Pack. As we're all humans, it might happen that things go wrong during research. If it happens that a car runs strangely funny, though you have a reasonable build, you might take a look there. And again I refer to rule number 1 here. Take a look, ! Period. Don't alter anything in your file or you might mess up pretty badly. If you find specs there, which are all in millimeters by the way, except for the weight, which is pounds, if you find data there that seems not to be correct and you research the right ones, please send an email to forza4tc@gmail.com. That is spelled F-O-R-Z-A, the number 4, tc@gmail.com. Please send the exact car, named in the list, with year, make, model and all this, the data you found to be wrong, the value that it should be, and links or pictures of your source or information. One thing for your research. Please don't bother to link to various third or fourth party sites. It is absolutely important to have information from the manufacturers or sites as close to them as somehow possible to have spot-on data. Those car databases like Ultimate Car Page, Supercars, Carfolio and others have found to be inaccurate from time to time, so we spend a load of time to get hands-on factory-close information. When you send us an email, we will check the information, verify the data, and add it to the database for the next release if needed. Oh, and one thing in addition, weight and tire data has to be taken from the stock car version in the game, so you might expect that to be right. Even if the official car's documentation lists other weights or tires, we have to take the data from the game, since that is what we are tuning. We would take all the data from the game too, if Turn 10 would provide them from the game. Again, do not edit anything in there for your own personal enjoyment. Also, please don't bother us by mail with support questions or feature requests. They won't be answered anywhere but on the official thread on forzamotorsport.net. Thank you very much. Well, this is finally the last part. Thank you very much for your attention and support, and of course I wish you much success and fun with the results of the new calculator. As already promised, you will now see the links to Tainted Productions' advanced tutorial, the forums for download and support, and Slave Monkey's PayPal donation link. Have fun and I'll see you online. Bye bye.